Hello and welcome to the very first Cloud Computing for the C-Suite show with Brad Nelson, an internationally recognized and #1 cloud industry expert and thought leader, David Linthicum. This show is sponsored by Nelson Hilliard, cloud computing recruitment specialists, placing great people in cloud, IoT, fintech and AI. In this week's show, David and I will be talking about what business case is acceptable for cloud computing and what would they want it to be presented like. Hi Dave, how's it going?
How's it going, Brad? Looking forward to the discussion today.
Yeah, me too. Really. It's been a week in progress, and I think we're getting somewhere. And yeah, this show's going to be a good one for the C-suites, that's for sure. So, Dave, what business case is acceptable for cloud computing, and what would they want it presented like?
Well, I think there's a huge chasm between technology leadership, guys like me who are more geeks around the technology stuff and follow the technology trends, and the CEOs and others in the C-suites, even the CFOs and even the CIOs, people who should be involved in technology directly, in terms of what it's going to take in terms of a business case to move them to spend typically millions of dollars, and the Global 2000 companies hundreds of millions of dollars over the next few years in migrating into cloud. And I think that we're still figuring out how to present the business case, to the C-suite that's going to be effective. And I think that we're kind of looking at this as more of a strategic opportunity for the C-suite folks, the CIO and the CEOs and the CFOs. And so when they want to hear what the business case is, they're looking for something that's strategically significant, that's a game changer. And you can make the case, not always, it's really going to be a fit for the business, that moving into cloud computing, the ability to do things in more agile ways, the ability to reduce costs, the ability to scale up as you need to scale up and turn the business on a dime is going to be a strategic advantage for the company. And if you just look at the opportunity, and this is the way I do the business case these days, it's not about cost effectiveness. Agility is very hard to gauge. It's about what's the difference between the as-is state, the way you're running things now, the limitations of the as-is state, the to-be state, where you want to run.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's about making those decisions and sticking to them and actually committing to them. And I think that's a lot of the C-suites have really, up until quite recently, you'd probably agree, are now making the right decisions, aren't they? Because it's better to fall over quicker in order to get up quicker and move to the right decisions, as it were.
Yeah, in a recent survey, this one by Deloitte, found that the CEOs are getting involved in the cloud-based decision. This was a study done in 2015. It's probably more the case these days. Because the reality is they see it as a significant systemic change in terms of how they're going to do their business, and they see the opportunity. So they may hear it a bunch of times in cocktail parties and at CEO conventions or, whatever clubs they go to that I'm not allowed into, to discuss business. But ultimately, they view it as something that's very important. They may not know exactly what it is, and that's why they need to hire guys like you and me. But ultimately, they want to guide it. They want to be involved in it. They want to be in every step of the way. So, it's funny, when I've been in the cloud consulting business for a long time, and I typically report to the CEO, not the CIO or the CTO, or boards of directors.
Yeah.
So those are the folks that want to control the movement into cloud and want to be in the loop, especially as to what's going to occur. And in some cases, they insist upon the movement. So in many cases, I'm driving the movement into cloud, which is counter to the advice that the CIOs and the other tech leaders would provide within the business. They don't see it as something that's positive. But the CEOs are leading the way, and the boards are leading the way into cloud, not necessarily the tech leadership.
And I think you're right. It was always the case of the IT department was very much to the IT department, getting on with what they needed to do, producing the reports that they needed to produce to govern the direction of expansion, investment within the infrastructure of the technicality of the organisation. But and sort of hereditary, the CEO had come through the ranks of marketing, sales, that sort of thing, HR maybe, but now they're playing a much heavier part in deciding the future of cloud within the organisation, right?
Yeah, they are, and I think that it's going to continue. So if technology is becoming strategic to the business, it's a game changer. Whether it's predictive analytics, whether it's cloud computing, whether it's IoT, these things are becoming, whether you're a technology company or not, kind of core to what you're doing. Your ability to automate things, to integrate with your customers and with your customers and your partners, and your supply chain. And they see that as a strategic advantage and as a way to basically add the value to the company, which increases stock, which they hold a lot of, and the ability to kind of take them into the 21st century, which is what the CEO's mission is. So I applaud the CEOs for getting involved. I think it's good that they're in the meetings. They're probably a pain in the neck to a lot of the IT leadership, but it's okay to have the business voice in those meetings.
Absolutely, because the CEO in effect is the next port of call to the stakeholders. So essentially, or the shareholders, sorry. So essentially, these people need to be informed on exactly why the investments into cloud are so important and why those judgments need to be made sooner rather than later.
That's right. They have to return shareholder equity. That's their main objective.
Exactly. So, I mean, coming to the close of today's show, Dave, I wanted to ask you, what's your final thought for the C-suites on this particular show with this topic we're looking at the moment?
Well, I think get involved with your IT department and make sure that they're moving in the right direction. I think that some IT folks have a pushback and an unnatural resistance against change, and I can understand why. Not every technology that comes along is going to add value to your business. I think is blindly adopting technology that seems to be very hyped. Cloud computing could be an instance of that. Can certainly get you in trouble. However, they should be looking at and always examining and always questioning and always thinking innovatively about how we can take this technology and move it into production to make our business more valuable. And I think that's core to fundamental to what the business is, and the CEOs need to be actively involved in that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, actually, if I may, that there's so many smaller startups that have the dynamics of change at such a speed where the larger corporations and the larger blue chip companies can't perform at such a speed. So the making the decisions, at CEO level, is a massive impact on where the startups are going to be coming in from, isn't it?
Absolutely. So take a hint.
Yes, exactly. Right. Absolutely. Roll those sleeves up.
That's right.
Thanks again for having you part of the show this week, Dave. I really appreciate that. You're awesome. It's really great to be working with you on the C-Suite show.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for watching, and remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the weekly cloud computing shows, including the cloud computing news. You can reach us on @DavidLinthicum on Twitter and @Nelson_Hilliard on Twitter as well. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for next week's show.